back, and we're having some kind of weird technical issues on our end. The imaging is flipped, so we're not quite sure what it's going to look like out in YouTube world. But
We're gonna monitor it. We're having this is creative differences we're having with YouTube right now,
yeah,
but we're gonna run with it.
I'm going to send a letter off to Mr. Tube in the morning, and we will address these concerns. But right now, I want to say thank you, Renee, for starting the show off with that donation. Thank you. That we've got some stuff coming up, and that's going to help put gas in the tank to help us spread the gospel of Bigfoot. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, now just on the YouTube scene here, and I'll address this towards Renee since she's our priority streamer right now, is that it is side by side on the YouTube channel,
Oh,
and it looks good. It looks like 5K footage actually, so we'll
oh
just
wait.
go with it.
So I'm doing something. Oh, geez, bad idea. Okay, yeah. So I usually don't watch the live stream
Right, it's a little
while we're.
delay.
No, no. Okay, so I'm just gonna close that. So Tobe, happy
Yeah.
June. Happy June to you.
Yeah, so it is June, June 6th, Thursday, the year of our Lord 2024. And it's beautiful outside. We just got back from Home Depot, so you can imagine there was a fair amount of mulch being moved. Actually ran into a couple Bigfooters. One of them is our beloved friend who you haven't met yet, but we call her well, I call her Lizard Nancy because she studies the reptilians quite a bit in her free time.
Okay,
But
okay.
she's a fan of the channel. She's a fan of Flash of Beauty. I met her at a pumpkin patch while I was selling wood watchers. And then the other guy, I believe his name is Rodney, and he actually built a Sasquatch replica. And him and his wife go around to different functions and festivals and sit people in front of their homemade Sasquatch. I know all about those, and take photographs. So you can't leave the subject matter behind too much around this town.
No. No, most importantly about June,
Hmm.
it's a time of beautiful weather, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. This is what we
Hmm.
hold out for. This is when things start getting good. And June is a time of celebration, of joy and wonder. And let's be honest, because it is my birthday month. So we are kicking it off with a lot of Bigfoot celebration stuff, counting down
So,
the days to my
so
birthday.
can we? Are we gonna? Are we allowed to talk about the said day? What day is that on?
Oh yeah, I was like, we're not doing anything weird. It's okay. Um, June 23rd. June
Okay,
23rd. Yeah.
okay. I like
Just
it. Will you be at Beachfoot?
It's on a so my birthday's on a Sunday. So yeah, it'll be the last day of Beachfoot.
Hmm.
We will have gone camping for 2 days straight.
How will that go?
We'll see.
You two are gonna have to give into this. We're gonna have to get you guys a little cool trailer or like one of those sprinter vans and just have it like totally pimped out for filming, for everything. We got to do like we could do like some kind of gender neutral bikini car wash or something like that where everybody's represented, and then we could do a crowdfunding.
It could be a poncho car wash. Like we're all wearing rain ponchos.
Oh, okay, all right.
I don't like being exposed. Um, no, but you know what? I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Last year on my birthday weekend, we were supposed to be at Beachfoot, and Brett got hit with some crazy editing job that
Hmm.
it turned into a bigger job. So it's kind of like
Okay.
cancel everything on the calendar on my birthday. So we're gonna make up for it, and I'm excited. I'm excited. Unfortunately, Todd and Angela, while they were driving out, they had some truck issues, some mechanical problems. So they had to turn around. Todd's flying out, and Angela can't make it. So
Oh, wow. So they're
So,
leaving quite early to do this if they're heading out here before the 3rd or the 4th of June.
well, they were driving. They were driving like their camper and everything out, but they
Yeah.
had to turn around. So now Todd's flying out. So we will play it by ear. But I just I feel really good about this summer. I think some good stuff is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be I don't know where I'll be. I might be heading towards the ocean on or around that time as well. Sorry I can't make it this year. I've never actually been to Beachfoot. This was going to be the one that I was actually going to try to make it to, but we have a lot of things coming up in July, and August is nuts. Like
Hmm.
it seems
Yeah,
like every day, every weekend in August is going to be crazy, so I just had to decide what I was going to do, and um Beachfoot 2025 it looks like.
very good. Very good. So,
Mm.
yeah, a lot of stuff to cover. I want to start. I don't even want to mess around. Let's get right into it. Our latest interview that we posted. Now that we're into the paranormal Bigfoot interviews, drum roll. You and Daryl. I feel like we actually got to kind of get to the beginning, like the
Mhm.
origin story, in the early days of A Flash of Beauty, and share your interview, the first interview.
Me and Big Papa.
Yeah. What was it like? Did you actually go back and watch it at all?
I did because I feel bad sometimes for stepping on Daryl's words, which I do throughout this video. I mean, in all honesty, it's excitement for the fact that someone gives a crap about our story. It has nothing to do with stepping over Daryl's story as well. And that's just something you learn along the way when you do these interviews on camera. And so Daryl knows how much I love the guy and respect his story. So Daryl's he just spoke at the Kiamichi Sasquatch conference, so he's out doing
Yeah.
research himself constantly. But yeah, I mean that really was a last minute decision that we would sit on the tailgate and do it that way. And I think it just came down to the fact that we wanted it to feel like, if it was what we normally do is just kind of hang out and wait for stuff to happen. Never really hung out on the tailgate like that side by side, but that is kind of like what you do when you're out in the woods is you find a comfortable place to kind of do your thing. And we're literally in that interview right up above the Al Moon Lab. Like, we're kind of there, to be honest. But as far as the wilderness section where Tara had the micro ball lightning on camera
Mhm.
from two cameras, that's just right down the skid road. So it pretty much the background is where everything's going down.
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Do you remember how and it was like a million degrees. So it was early July. I want to say July 2nd, 2020, and it was hot out. I just remember all the flies. Like
Oh
it was
yeah, you can
hot,
see us.
the flies, and we're all sweaty and just like,
Right.
but
Yeah. And
no,
I
that
sweat so easily. I picture myself sweating in that moment because I'm in an easy sweater, I guess. But Daryl's used to it. Old Oklahoma boy could he always wears pants wherever he is. I've never seen the guy in shorts before, so I probably should have been hanging out in my Hawaiian shirt and that would have been probably more authentic for the environment. But
well, I'll
now I
say
don't
this.
remember after we shot that video, did we go down to the woods and shoot?
We did. We had
Okay.
some audio problems, so then we came back later. And that
Okay.
interview will drop further down the line. We'll save
Okay.
that. We don't want to put out all of our best stuff all right out of the gate. No, but yeah, we had some like your audio cut out. Like we had Daryl, but we didn't have you, which is
Mhm.
unfortunate because that was when that very first time when you guys were walking us through all the kind of
Oh.
the little markers along the trail and all the stuff. You know what that includes? Oh, it's up over there, is when you guys had me cut off that vine, that little tree sapling that was like tied in a knot. And
Hmm.
you're like, cut it off, take it home. Now you're engaged with the mystery. Maybe it'll follow you home. I was like, wow, thank you. Yeah, and we keep it in the bedroom. Um, no, that was fantastic. Really quick, I do want to address something that came up in a question online.
Hmm.
And the fact that, okay, Daryl's from Oklahoma,
Right.
and there's once you start moving out east, there's weird bugs and stuff and snakes and creepy
Oh.
crawly things. So I can totally appreciate why he wears the pants and stays covered and everything. Especially when Brett and I were out filming with Arla when we got back to the motel.
Oh
I
yeah.
I
They
was
got
like
chiggers.
I was like, oh, there's ticks crawling up my leg, and
Right.
yeah, so I get it. But someone asked a question on our Facebook page, and I just want to throw it out there in case anyone had thoughts on this. Is how do the Sasquatch have? I mean, is how do they deal with ticks and fleas and things that with a lot of hair comes a lot of maintenance and a lot of hygiene type?
Boy, don't I know.
And that's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you. Um,
Because of my long Fabio locks.
no, but it's a question worth asking. I mean, if we're going out into the woods and getting
Hmm.
ticks and stuff, are they susceptible or? Oh, Renee Drew, good point. The stink repels.
Oh,
That might be it.
I
Yeah,
like it.
someone's asking like if about Lyme disease. I I don't know. These are.
I don't know. I think they're kind of down for the cause as far as being able to repel a lot of the things that we have to deal with. I mean, maybe when they're here physically doing their thing, they have to live with the circumstances that are dealt to them. But um, I think that's probably the least of their problems, or bugs in general. They probably know all sorts of like little natural remedies and stuff to ward them off.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they knew. I mean, if the Black Witch's butter showed up on your gifting area,
Right.
you know, maybe we just need to be going to the woods and asking more questions.
Yeah, the old Black Witch's butter. And there was a couple of questions along the way here privately I've been asked. You know, for the most part, people don't really ask about that moment of the Al Moon Lab, and I think it's because it's a little bit cringy for the fact that it seems like a bridge too far for what they're capable of. And I think that comes across in the documentary a little bit, although it did happen. Things can be cringy and factual, right?
Hmm.
But did we misinterpret what they had done? Did I misinterpret it? Um, and I don't know how to answer that except to say it was a mushroom. It's called Exidia glandioso. That's the mycologist would call it that. It kind of looks like a slimy goblin's ear. It's all over the Pacific Northwest. However, it's not that easy to find. You certainly can find it in the Pacific Northwest, but the connection from what we were going through with the pandemic and there being some kind of land spirit that is listening constantly, monitoring your situational awareness. um, that was just one of the moments where it became abundantly clear that there was something else going on than possibly Sasquatch. Now, I don't know how else to take that because there was so much other stuff going on in that area that we didn't talk about because it happened after the cameras were off,
Hmm.
a couple months later. But was it Sasquatch that brought that mushroom and laid it on this little fossil? We have no idea. I didn't find any footprints, handprints, nothing like that than like we did back at the Al Moon Lab. However, it did get a larger conversation going about what our place is with them, because people do talk about healing. We never really get into that in the show. I'm sure that Ashley and Arla and possibly even Henry, who's online with us, and many others, Mel Skahan, will talk about Sasquatch bringing medicine to the Native Americans and doing trades like that. So I don't know. It's still one of the most powerful yet kind of cringy moments that I openly discuss. Why is it
Not
cringy?
cringy.
Well,
Not cringy.
I feel like it is though. It's a little bit embarrassing.
You know, be damned with embarrassment.
Yeah.
Um, I think we crossed that line a long time ago.
No, I get it. I get it. I totally get it. But I think it's because it puts me in the place of saying I'm special, and I don't like to be in that position. Like, you know, let's just be straight. I asked for a cure for COVID, and they brought me something for upper respiratory illness. I asked to meet, and they brought me a mushroom that was a psychogenic to meet the land spirits. So,
Yeah.
two things and one wish. But this is exactly what Cindy was doing as a doubting Thomas back at the house. She was asking for money, she was asking for rare metals, um, and she got the trickster element played on her on both occasions, as far as I'm concerned. And we talk about that in the video. But as far as the comments are concerned, there's none of that. No one's like taking Daryl and I to task really on much. Any on any of this here? Did you see anything that seemed like it was? I didn't see anything that was really legitimately confrontational about the video.
No, there's no accusations of you being like government, misinformation
Right, right,
agents
right,
or
right.
no, no, there's some you guys, if you're I not just for Tobin Darrell's interview, but I strongly suggest go through the comments on the interviews that you've watched that you really like. There are people are really opening up and sharing their encounters and like their thoughts and stuff. There's I want to go through add this to my list of things to do. Go through and just like catalog everything.
Right.
Um yeah, but you know what? Oh, there was something else that I want to talk about as far as the Al Moon Lab is concerned.
Hmm.
So and I wish Daryl was on the call. So we'll have to when we do our little updated podcast that we can talk
Right.
about in a minute. Um, I really want to talk to Daryl about this because it wasn't just Bigfoot activity that was going on. Let's be honest, there was more going on than just Bigfoot activity in that area, I think. And Daryl's like the Tin Man, the thing he saw, the like robot type thing, you
Well, yeah.
know,
Explain that, Jill. Explain, what did you hear?
if I recall, and you're gonna have to help me because there's a lot of Daryl stories, and I don't want to.
Right, 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 right.
He had a lot of weird stuff happen, and I don't want to get confused with the photos that he had of something walking away and then
Hmm.
something visibly like cloaked looking.
Right, 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 right.
But was he down there with his nephew, or he is down there and like Cindy was up in the truck, but he's kind of doing his thing, putting out, like cookies and peanut butter, leaving, food. And
Right.
and he like saw this thing in the woods that looked like a tin man and he got a picture of it. It's like a partial photo behind a tree.
Hmm.
That happened, right? I'm not just going crazy. He and it looked like
Yeah.
but it looked weird. It looked like as far as the Tin Man, there's very something like robotic and angular about the head. I remember
Hmm.
that. Almost like an oil, like when you're like changing your oil or refilling cars.
Right. You're literally
Little
describing
the
Wizard of
funnel.
Oz. Yes.
Yeah, the Tin
Yeah.
Man. Let me describe
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
So
So
no,
maybe
that was
that's some
weird.
kind of thought form that you know, I think they can do this, right? I think they can project images out there based upon what you're expecting, or maybe what your subconscious is into at that moment. But you're exactly right. Um, we kind of honed it down to looking a little bit more like the day the Earth stood still with that giant 10-foot tall robot. I think its name is Gork or something like that. So if it's like a black and white 1950s classic, right? And that was, but more with like a pope hat, like a giant cone head, like a shiny silver
Yeah.
robot. And it was profiling, walking through the woods within, I think, less than 50 feet from Daryl, down towards where the juvenile tracks were discovered by Mark Parker, where I had woven together a wreath out of vine maple. Actually, no, it was a it was a binding of swamp grass that I made into a wreath, and I hung some, 100 yards down past where he saw this robot, and within
Mhm.
a matter of days, that wreath ended up 100 yards back on the gifting stump, hanging there, which they'd, had come to let me know that they were constantly watching us walk into the woods day and night. Like, Daryl and I had a few close encounters with them in broad daylight where something got between Daryl and I in broad daylight within, Daryl and I were separated about 75 yards and there was a knoll between us, just a slight brushing knoll. And so we're down on the slope. And between him and I, some 75 yards, broad daylight, warm summer day, there were three giant Louisville slugger wood knocks. Um, the crazy thing is that I thought Daryl had did it and he thought I had did it, and we didn't acknowledge it till we got in the car. And Daryl thought for sure I was lying. And I knew that Daryl wasn't lying because the sound of those wood knocks sounded like, Babe Ruth was out there practicing. And it just wasn't within, Daryl didn't have a bat, first of all. It was definitely sounded like a bat cracking. It didn't sound like a
Yeah.
punky piece of wood. So my point is that we're under constant observation, not only at the Al Moon Lab, but with a lot of these witnesses here. And so why is that? And this kind of gets us into the territory of, the murky water of the spiritual side of Sasquatch, right? And I feel like this is kind of what mostly the thread has taken off with. And if there's any kind of controversy, it's going to arise around religion. And so, we talk, Daryl doesn't really talk about it as much in the video as I do. But because I felt so let down by the Protestant pastors that I was like, I led a Bible study back in 2003 time frame. Like I had friends that were going off to pastoralship. My father's a preacher in New York City, so I was well versed with the Protestant faith, and yet it would seem like faith was really dead as far as it concerned the supernatural or really the miracles of the Protestant church I was associated with, and most in general, except said for maybe the Catholic Church. So when this stuff started to challenge my personal understanding of what I call like this neutral area, where, in my opinion, there's text that has been removed, i.e., the Book of Enoch and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, and so I just felt like it's important to have this discussion, and I felt like we could have this discussion and not make it controversial because whatever's going on with Sasquatch, um, they don't really want to have much to do with us. Like they're not out to like engage us and trick us into doing things like a demon would. It's totally different. It seemed very human like, very teenage like, but yet godlike. And that's where I feel like people took me a little bit to task with using that term. And I think some of them wanted me to use words like demon like or devil like, but that hasn't been my personal experience. So how could I speak to that? Um, but what did you think of that?
Murky waters indeed. That could be a whole other documentary, honestly. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think we've heard it from all angles, but something that came up in the interview that I really wanted to explore further
Mm-hmm.
was the settlers who came out that you talked about, the
Hebron.
Hebron, yeah, Can you talk about that in a little bit more detail and let people know? I mean, the
Okay.
history that area, that Cottage Grove area really does have kind of an interesting history to it. I mean, it had like Native Americans that were very active in that area, especially up where the Al Moon Lab was, like
Hmm.
Daryl's property, but also just like logging and
Yes.
mining type stuff. So
Get into it.
there's a lot of energy. There's a lot of
Mhm.
It was a rough life, but I'm not as well versed as on the whole on the Hebron aspect of it. But it's such an
Well,
interesting like connection.
yeah. So the Hebrons were a group of religious fundamentalists that had settled in Cottage Grove Lake when it was just a field. And so around Daryl's house is the London Track area known as Cottage Grove Lake, which is a unnatural reservoir, and it's run and owned now by the Army Corps Engineers. But circa the 1800s till I believe the early part of the 1900s, a religious group that came over, I believe, on the Oregon Trail and settled out here in the land of the Kalapuya. That was the
Hmm.
story that we've been told was a religious fundamentalist group called the Hebrons, and believe there's a book that you can find called "They Called Them the Hebrons," or they called it Hebron, and it goes into specific details about who these people were. Now, Hebron is all over the United States. You can type it in, but it's going to lead you to Jerusalem, south of Jerusalem. So what's unique about Hebron is that, and how do we deny this part of this story here? You help me in the thread, Jill. You help me in the thread as far as viewership as well. But the Hebron connection is south of Jerusalem. I believe I have my biblical text here. Post Genesis flood, if we're going to all agree that that would happen, most cultures do agree that there was a global flood, by the way, even out here in the Olympic Peninsula. Um, so, south of Jerusalem, global flood, post global flood, around the land of Hebron, the Nephilim were seen in those days, even after the flood. Um, they talked about the land where they were just grasshoppers in the sight of these men of renown, or the Nephilim. So it was hard for us to not put the connection together that here we had this religious fundamentalist group and this mountainside filled with giants, which was basically Daryl's backyard, and there being some kind of connection between them looking out over this land and say, oh my gosh, it isn't like it was in the land of Hebron. There's giants here post flood, and they happen to be surrounded all around us. Now, strange stuff started to turn up with this name Hebron. First of all, Sonia Zohar got mixed up in this documentary, and her last name Zohar is tied to King Zohar right outside the city of Hebron. So that was very strange. I thought that she had a genealogy tied back to Hebron. Then we would order speakers and monitors and cameras to, presumingly, I guess, try to capture more evidence in and around the Al Moon Lab as it related to EVPs or live action EVPs. Thanks to someone like Henry Franzoni, who was telling us about finding the
The
digital layers
layer
of where these
cake,
happen.
yeah.
And so we ordered some baby monitors, and they were from Hebron. I'd never seen anything from Hebron before except a street down the road where the lake was. And now we got these baby monitors from Hebron. And it turns out that Aaron collected Hebron glassware. I never knew that Hebron
Is
is renowned stained glass, like wine glasses
That's a
mainly.
thing? Hold on, I'm looking it up right now. You guys
Hebron
bear with
glassware is
me.
like this stunning stained glass goblets, and they're pretty rare,
You
but it
guys,
just
hold
so
on, I'm
happens that she
Googling.
had a couple. So there was,
Oh!
you see what I mean?
Oh, wait, this is glass? It looks like pottery.
Yeah, no, it's like a really dense stained glass effect.
It's
It
swirling. What I'm looking at is like all swirled.
Yes. Yeah, it's like a marble. That's what it kind
Yeah,
of looks like,
yeah.
right? Like a marble. And so when you hold it up to light, it's, translucent. And so those were the kind of connections. I just like, well, does this mean something? Like, is this a religious rabbit hole that I probably shouldn't chase, right? And we never really got any true connections beyond those things that I just mentioned here. However, there were some other interesting aspects that started coming up about regions outside of Cottage Grove, including Crimea, right? Like this is where the global conflict is right now, by the way, right? Like in Ukraine, the Crimea area, s- uh, around the last month that I was staying at the Al Moon Lab. Remember that I'm living there with Daryl in concert with Cindy, studying this stuff. And I think it was around the month of September 2018 before I eventually kind of moved up the street and studied from afar. Um, is that we got this EVP of these mystery women and this woven piece of paracord that was laid between us as you kind of were investigating and sleeping inside the garage, this haunted garage, right?
Mhm.
And this giant, more like 24-inch piece of paracord woven together was set between Daryl and I near my recorder. And there was this very strange audio of what sounded like Russian women or babushka women speaking. And so
Mhm.
it took us a couple years to find out that this actually comes from what is known as a Taigan zoo in Crimea, right outside of Ukraine. And it's a kind of a obscure YouTube video of a lion roaming around this zoo where this Ukrainian woman is talking to the lion. Now, what's so strange about this audio is I don't know how this audio got on my recorder. It makes absolutely no sense that this Crimean woman in a zoo and from this YouTube video is on my recorder and there's this woven cord. That makes no sense. It took us 2 years to figure all this out.
Yeah.
But the other strange thing is that there was this giant mountain lion that was seen outside of our metal shop that night on FLIR. It was the biggest mountain lion you ever did see. I mean, it was just massive, and I caught it on my FLIR camera within 24 hours of that audio. And we were, in this video, you plainly see this giant lion, and it's roaming around its enclosure, which is this metal shop. And that's what we were sleeping in. We were sleeping in a giant metal shop, and there's this mountain lion outside within 24 hours. So you understand the synchronicity here? Like, is that something you don't mention because it's just like so disjointed? But I just found it just too good to be true.
Yeah, it will, and that's just the tip of the iceberg with Daryl's audio. Daryl,
Hmm.
I mean, every like maybe every other week or so I'll get a message from Daryl like, "Did I ever send you this piece of audio?" And it's something I haven't heard, or
Yeah.
some video clip like, "Here's an orb going like past the garage," or, "Here's
Right.
something screaming in the woods." So something's happening. But what was oh gosh, what was the other audio? Well, his voice being played backwards, that whole
Oh
that
gosh.
ended up on his cell phone. And oh, Tobe, how can we forget? Okay, so you've talked about this, how where Daryl lived, I mean, there was crystal and whatnot, mineral components at play in the ground. There was like artesian wells, there's a creek nearby, and it was like a
Oh
ditch,
yes.
and you
Yeah.
got the
Yeah.
power lines. You had the power lines going by. And was it on his like was it cell phone, or when he was just leaving his audio recorder out, he was getting like World War II type, like the fighter, like the airplane, like
Yeah.
chatter and stuff, like stuff that did not
Yeah.
wouldn't be playing on Turner Classic Movies or
Right.
anything
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
It was very
Yeah.
disjointed, had no business
Yeah.
being on the airwaves. or in the air, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many examples of his electronics, and it seemed to be pointed to him as far as the electronics, especially his phone. But yeah, it sounded like a World War II fighter pilot that had maybe crash landed somewhere, and he was, breaking up as he was trying to get a SOS call out, perhaps. It sounded like an old timey kind of thing happening. There was a lot of what sounded like old timey stuff happening. You know, you could almost hear like the record scratching on an old record with some of this stuff happening. And there was just a lot of examples of these strange. It's hard not to think that it was some we were caught up like in a different time
Hmm.
periodically. You brought up that artesian well. One of the crazier things that happened is that Daryl and I were standing behind my trailer, behind the spring where the blackberry bushes were, which, the Sasquatches would come to these blackberry bushes and eventually aspirate, blackberry juice all over my trailer. And I, caught them on audio doing it. But at one point around August or September timeframe, we're standing back there looking at some of the strangeness by this well, and we start to feel it rain. And it was like this very beautiful little mist. Now, I don't know how artesian wells work, but I know that there was a canopy over this very small. I'm saying well, but I mean spring. Um, and there was this beautiful light cooling mist on this 80-degree day that just started to hit us, like, like in a produce section when they turn on the misting machines or you go to the fair. It was much lighter than that, but you couldn't really see any water collect on your skin, but you certainly felt it. So maybe it wasn't water. But it was very strange.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, Daryl is he is a he is a resource. I'll say that. He has a lot of stuff documented. And I just want to say Daryl is really kind of he played a major role in A Flash of Beauty, whether he knows it or not. And
Mhm.
I just want to share this story before we move on. When we started filming in 2020 at Beachfoot, Diane Stocking gave me kind of a short list of names of. Well, okay, so initially we planned on talking to her. We planned on talking to Todd Neese. We planned on. We were hoping Ron Moorhead would be out there, but we ended up catching up with him later on, only because we had been a few other Beachfoots where he had been in attendance. And on that list, like there was a list, and the very last person, there's like 5 or 6 names, Daryl Adams, and Diane said, Daryl has had some really interesting stuff happen at his property. I'm like, oh, okay. And so, yeah, when we sat down with him, we started talking, and Daryl, he doesn't miss a beat. I'm just gonna tell you how it is, straight shooter. He's like, "Do you want me to tell you about the other stuff too?" And we're like, "What?" Yeah, and he started to talk about the shop and stuff, and then Brett and I put it together. We're like, "This was the guy in that documentary we watched
Oh,
with that
gotcha.
other guy." I'm talking about the alien Bigfoot connection,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
in case
yeah.
you're out there wondering. So I was just like, "Oh, you're that guy." I was like, and I'm thinking, this is perfect because we were going to talk about UFOs, we're going to talk about ghosts, we're going to talk about Bigfoot. Here's someone who can touch on all three and bring it together.
Right.
And then we just took off, pure Bigfoot.
Yeah. I mean, thank God it wasn't just Daryl and I that had the stuff happen. It's a shame that we don't have the neighbors on camera. I mean, we have Ren Varney, who was the neighbor. We have Mark Parker, who lived about an hour up the road. Both of these guys ended up having stuff happen. Tara Harris, the psychic with the microball lightning on camera with the crystal looking Bigfoot thing. Um, she was a Bigfoot skeptic, really. I mean, she
Mhm.
just didn't really. She'd show up at our live shows we do at the Axe and Fiddle, and she'd kind of sit there and unless it was about ghosts, she really didn't entertain the conversation. But then she started to this was her area where she would do her clearings, like, she would collect the bad juju, and then she would send it away in this area, and, that's when she started to have experiences, is shortly after she came to our live events, and I'll be damned if she didn't, see I think she saw a Sasquatch is what she says, along with
Yeah.
her friends.
And that was one of my favorite interview moments, just to segue really quick, is because here, some people are skeptical of like mediumship and psychics and, seeing
Mhm,
spirits and stuff. And and Tara, again, I don't know if it's something about the Cottage Grove area,
mhm,
total straight shooter. She's like, look, I deal with ghosts and spirits, Bigfoot, no. And then,
mhm.
and then she's like, well, and then I saw one. So I'm like, crap, I guess that's real. And
And she has a name for them, right? It's not Bigfoot. What does she call them?
they
It
Aolin. They let
Aeolin.
they identified to the name Aolin. Like, and I believe I'd have to watch her interview again. It's a little foggy,
Right.
but
But that's
Aolin.
what that's
Yeah.
what they she says that's what they want to be called. But then we hear all these other names that people insist on that Sasquatch are, and I just find that that's just it's difficult for me to follow that line of logic. I mean, there's either one name for them, and they're all happy with it. Or I guess there's could be multiple names for them, and they're all different. But um, yeah,
Maybe that family or that grouping. That's what they're known as, like their neighborhood or something. I don't know.
yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
What do you
Um,
call do you call them a clan, Jill? What do you call them? A pod? A murder of Sasquatch?
a pod of Bigfoot just going through the water,
A
doing the
family? Yeah.
backstroke, as Henry Franzoni would say. Um,
Right.
I don't know. I don't
Mm.
know. A family, a
Mhm.
group. I don't. A clan sounds.
I know it does.
It's like,
Right.
I
Well, they
try
do
not
have
to. I
conical
try not
shaped
to
heads.
incorporate
Right.
clan
Right.
as something that to
Right.
identify
Right.
a group. Um, but and then like a tribe,
I like that. Yeah, tribe of
a
squatches.
tribe, a tribe of squatches.
Mhm.
Um, Yeah, but I am excited because we do have, some people commented like, "Oh, more of these guys. I want to hear more." And it's like, well, you're in luck because they've got a boatload of evidence that they show us
Mhm.
down at the Al Moon Lab. So we can get into all that later on. I did want to talk about. So you were recently. I just watched a little bit of it the other day. You were on a podcast with
Mhm.
Barnaby Jones. Tell us about that. How'd that go?
Oh, Barnaby. I love that name. There's not enough Barnabys in the world. I guess it should be that way. Yeah, so I had about an hour-long discussion with Barnaby Jones about everything we're talking about tonight, and I um, I think we dug in a little bit deeper into some of the areas that we discussed tonight together. It was great. It was a good content, and yeah, it was the first time I met him. Now you'd been on the show before,
Not me, Brett. I
no?
think
Brett
I
had.
thought you and Brett had been on this show before. Maybe it was just
I don't
Brett.
think so. I think he had interviewed a lot of guests from Flash of Beauty, and maybe you or Brett.
Not me. So
Okay.
I don't do podcasts that often. There's
Oh,
only
but you
been
do podcasts. We're going to talk about a recent one then. You
I
do
do.
them.
So for those of you watching, like the live stream is kind of like a special thing. That's when I get to interact with everyone. But for the most part, Tobe and Brett Eichenberger, the director, they are the face of the movie, for interviews and podcasts and speaking engagements. But I was contacted to do an interview for a podcast, and I showed up, and I want to say they were very gracious and thankful, and very very nice, very nice. The interview I'm pulling it up right now. It it didn't go, I think, the way they hoped. They're very flesh and blood, very
Mhm.
like very flesh and blood, and I don't think they were ready for me to start talking about the whole paranormal element. So there was some uncomfortable conversations and some moments, but I think I gave them a lot to think about.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't go full like hot topic goth paranormal
Ah,
woo on them. Um,
shoot.
I can read the room pretty good. I was like, these guys aren't ready for that. So I tried to be gentle. But no, I mean, it was good, and it's interesting because they're like you really focus on the Pacific Northwest. Why didn't you get out here to like Ohio and West Virginia and out to the east? And I was like, well,
Right.
these self-funded
Yeah.
pandemic documentary projects um make it difficult, but trust me, I mean, Brett and I talk about that, like how cool would it be to get an RV and just drive all over, just meeting with people and filming with them, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
trying to figure out the puzzle. So we definitely want to get out east, don't get me wrong, it's
Yeah.
on our list of things to do.
We need to be like that guy from Channel 5 News that kinda looks like Napoleon Dynamite. You know what I'm talking about. He rolls around in an RV and interviews people, sticks a mic in their face, always wears the Goodwill suit. We need something similar to that.
We can do that. We could do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, it's on my list. But no, I'll be honest. I was having a lot of anxiety because I was expecting a lot of people to come out and attack me for talking about. I mean, I was pretty moderate about it too. Like I said, I kept it very like basic, but I was afraid I was going to be attacked for talking about the paranormal element. And it was a weird shift because when I'm always
Mhm.
talking to people like, no, just step into it and share your story. And, we need to be more honest and stuff. And then the tables are turned and I'm just like, how much do I say? Like, I kind of had like, it's like that episode of the Brady Bunch when Cindy Brady is on the quiz show and she goes blank and she just kind of stares. That's kind of how I was. I was like, how much can I share? Um, but no, it was good conversation, and
Mhm.
I think it helped me get over that little
Yeah.
podcast stage fright. So,
Well, I mean, you're I'm not gonna say you're none of us are authority
God,
on
I'm
the
not.
matter to the degree, but there's a sense of there's a confidence level now that we kind of got our merit badges for time served, and that's a good place to be with this, right? Because it's supposed to be fun, and you don't want to be feeling like there's a bunch of pressure to say the right thing, and you can only say the truth. And I mean, we're speaking to a select crowd right now. We're not speaking to these guys. Like, they're here on the thread with us, they're watching the doc, and those are our people, right? It's going to be a select crowd. And so that's what, the part I just become comfortable with is like, oh, I go to these conferences and I run into this person and that person, and they seem challenged by what I'm talking about, but I'm not there to talk to them. Like, I don't want to argue about it at all, ever. Um, but I don't want to shy away from it because I know that behind this skeptic is 10 or 15 other people that have been profoundly changed. And these are the people that wrote on all these comments here. In fact, I got a very lengthy comment that you set me up with, and Brett set me up with someone that is having incredible stuff happen, and is, his faith is challenged by this as well, to a degree. And so, yeah, it was. The interview itself was a really good experience for Daryl and I really have Daryl to thank for it, and even Ron, right? Because without Ron recommending Daryl come meet me, I would have never met Daryl. And without Daryl going to Beachfoot and talking to you, then none of this would have happened. So it's all just been, there's no really luck. There's just like practice, 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 and then getting in the right place at the right time for an opportunity. And that's all I've been doing is practicing
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
Yeah. It's like a where is the dress rehearsal taking us? Um, but I did
I
want to
know.
share. So the podcast I did, it was on the Untold. Let me start over. It was on the Untold Radio Network on
Right.
YouTube, and it was for wide open research and is hosted by Dr. Russ Jones, and you'll see my name in the title. I was the last interview, and I think they're like wrapping up for taking a break for the summer.
Oh, okay.
So give it a listen. Let me know,
Mm.
you guys. Let me know if I handled this accordingly. I mean,
I watched it. I did. You sent me a link to it, and I didn't see that you shied away from the information that you should have relayed. You relayed the information. You did it with kindness, and you know that's gonna
I was
get us a long ways. Taking the ego out of it is such a huge thing for this community, and I didn't see that you came across
okay.
as flaky or anything.
I had so much more I wanted to say, but I was like, they're not ready. If they invite me back, I will
Right.
say it all. I will go there. I will um
Well,
because
had
yeah,
they watched the had they watched the documentary?
uh so Russ Jones had watched, well, they had both watched the documentary, but they had Russ, he watched the sequel. We didn't really talk about it. Brad, his co-host, had not watched the sequel yet, but he was gonna
Okay.
watch it. So I'm waiting to hear back from Brad. So Brad, if you're watching, I want a full report on the sequel.
Yeah. I wonder, has anybody on the thread watched A Flash of Beauty on Oculus? And if so, what was your experience like? I think that I had an Oculus for a while, but I have an astigmatism and it wouldn't focus properly, so it was always just kind of blurry. And if you
Oh,
don't
is
know what
that
Oculus
the
is, that's the VR
the
situation. Yeah.
is it available that way? Can we do that? Is
Oh
that
yeah,
a
you can watch anything in it, YouTube videos, whatever.
thing? You
Yeah. So
guys,
has
we
anybody
need.
watched Flash of Beauty, especially part two, the opening 5 minutes of part two on Oculus? Because
Oh,
that would be the ultimate, or even the new Apple one, right? I guess that's even better. I don't know if anybody has, but I'd be curious to know.
yeah,
Mm.
that would be. Yeah, I'm like the wheels are turning. I'm like
Mhm.
thinking about going. I think Brett has some drone footage. He flew his drone down through that, all the way down through the Almoon Woods,
Oh,
down to where
nice.
your gifting station was. That would be a
Hmm.
trip. Because just watching that alone
Hmm.
was like, here we go. Woo. Um, yeah. Let's see. I gotta look at my little list of things coming up. Here's something. What are you doing next Friday, Tobe Johnson?
Next Friday?
Yeah.
What am I missing? Am I supposed to be doing something? What
What
am-
you're missing is a double feature
oh, okay.
screening of A Flash of
Yes.
Beauty
Yes, that's what I'm
in
doing.
Castlegar, British Columbia. Yeah, so we have information posted on our Facebook page. Basically, the good people at the Castlegar Theater are hosting us for a double feature starting at 6 o'clock. Castlegar is about maybe a little over an hour north, kind of northwest of Meadowing Falls. Meadowing Falls Bigfoot Festival is going on Saturday and Sunday, so I'm just saying, make a 3-day weekend out of it. Join us up in Canada on Friday. Watch some movies.
Hmm.
We'll have T-shirts with us, and then make your way down to Meadowing Falls.
And if you find Sasquatch evidence, I think you have to declare it. So don't find any Sasquatch evidence. Or if you do, put it in a Hanukkah card like I did and mail it across the border. Oh, Canada, we love you.
Oh boy. So yeah, after that, yeah, we have Beachfoot, my birthday weekend. July 19th through the 21st, we have Sasquatch Summerfest.
Hmm.
We have some stuff coming up in August that you're involved in that we can't talk about yet.
I'm so stoked.
More on that later. And then September is another busy month. I mean,
Eh.
do you want to talk about Olympic Strange Days?
Yeah. Um, so every week around this time, Thursday evenings, I drop a clue for the sold out Olympic Strange Days. But Jill, is it sold out? By golly, no. There's a treasure hunt. And celebrate your independence like the true patriot you are on July 4th this year by going on a scavenger hunt for the last two remaining tickets hid out here in the Olympic Peninsula. So there will be a map, there will be some clues, and they will all be downloaded on July 4th. However, since you've tuned in here, I am going to drop a clue for you now. And this week's clue, just like Pee Wee Herman had word of the day, this week's clue is going to be red shield. Red shield. So if you go back into our other live shows, I think there's probably 6 or 7 now that drop clues.
Hmm.
You can get ahead of the game or not.
Hmm.
But either way, July 4th, you can find these two tickets. Now, this is intermediate scavenger hunt. And so you're going in the woods. You're going to break a sweat and you're going to be challenged, probably more so on part two of a 3-part scavenger hunt. It's going to take you about 4 hours to do all 3 stages, and you're going to have to drive. Some things will be easier to do in the night than in the day, so that's up to you. And once somebody grabs these two tickets, the scavenger hunt is over. And I will have my phone number on the tickets, and that's how I will know that somebody found them. So that's that. And just stay tuned to Olympic Strange Days. Also, Nancy Fry, myself, Aaron, and Cooper are headed up to the spot where we're all going to be going up in the Olympic Peninsula near Hoodsport, Washington. People know that much. And we're going to stay the night there Sunday. And so we're going to go up there and do some contingency planning. And we're going to start going up there once a month and getting things ready, including running um, a projector. We brought a projector to run up there as well. So it should be a lot of fun. I don't know if we'll be able to have campfires, and that's just something that we're going to have to deal with. So if you have a propane tank and you bought a ticket, bring your little propane fire pit with you. And we're going to have a Zoom call here in the month of July as well between me and all the ticket holders. So if you bought a ticket, prepare yourself for July, August, September. September. I'm going to touch bases with you more after July 4th.
And okay, so you're going to be, I'm just thinking because now we have family coming up from Arizona that are looking to get out into the wilderness. And I was like, we will head north to the Olympic Peninsula and perhaps Tobe shall guide us
Mhm.
out into the woods.
Well,
So
and I talked to Rich about it too. Rich is available as well. And I'm more than happy to take them in and around this area that we're going to in September so you can get a feel for it. So that's an idea. I did find something within the last week that is absolutely extraordinary. I don't know everybody's level as far as being able to hike. However, what's coming our way in August, we probably should start hiking a little bit more than we are. So yeah,
yeah.
I don't know your family. I don't know. So maybe a park is where we should talk about it and see how they react to being in a park kind of deal, and then move out from there. But you tell me.
Sometimes it's just good to dive in head first and see
Okay.
what happens. So That's
Nice.
our approach. And just to dangle a carrot, and we're going to talk about this later. Uh, October, we're putting together something special in Baker City, Oregon. So just file that away. As
Yeah.
Arla Williams would say, don't throw it away. File
File.
it away.
File away.
File it away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, we got some stuff coming up. Um, Always something in the works with you crazy kids.
Always something, always something. These pesky day jobs and,
Hmm.
earning a living is really getting in the way of us
Well,
pursuing Sasquatch full time. So
before we go, I just want to know, have you watched anything cool on YouTube that I need to see? Like, the Las Vegas alien thing kind of came and went. It sounds like there's a possibility of some more information maybe down the road, but have you watched anything cool on YouTube or the internet that I need to see?
I just watched something really cool and amazing happen right now. I can't tell who it is. Someone just
Whoa!
donated $50. So thank
Pygmy,
you.
pygmy pack, pygmy poach.
Oh, thank you. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for supporting our cause. Yeah, that's the most amazing thing I've seen in a long time. Um, no, so alien stuff. I know they're talking about the Vegas stuff again. Only because someone came forward, like some scientist, or oh, who was it? Brett, maybe you can hop in the chat and help me out here. A forensics expert, like who testifies in court, was saying that like no, you can see evidence that something's cloaked here.
Right, yeah, like a digital forensics expert says that he sees no tampering of the video, that there's
Hmm.
something that's over 7 feet tall coming by the fence, and then something in the background, I think, is what initially spooks the father, and then Angel, the son, and him, and I believe the brother all back up at once as they see this tall, grayish green big-eyed alien with funny hands and feet that eventually, I believe, said hopped in an excavator, like it was trying to operate it, trying to move around the excavator or something like that.
Well, yeah,
Wild.
if you're operating a spaceship, how hard could that be? It's like, oh,
Right.
this is child's play.
He's probably making fun of it, like, oh my gosh.
Oh, you
Yeah.
stupid humans.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
look at
stupid.
me. I'm a human using an excavator. No.
Right.
um, yeah, I'm just trying to think what other things.
Psycho Fu wrote here, watch old episodes of Ghost Mine, which, if you haven't ever watched Ghost Mine on the Sci Fi Channel, Dick and Duck Seacourt are miners from Bohemia Mountain, part of the Cottage Grove Bohemian Mining Association, and they own one of the last active mines on the mountain up there. It's a father and son gold mining team, and so they're on this sci-fi show called Ghost Mine, which it only had one episode. But they have Tommy Knocker situations happening. They have Bigfoot type situations happening. They have ghost stuff, of course. So check that out. That is a good one to mention.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'm sure I'll think of stuff after we end the live stream, but
Hmm.
I'm always on the look for
Hmm.
podcasts that get into the mucky muck and the get into the dirt with all this
And I'll
stuff.
tell you what, yeah, I'm gonna make this announcement. If whoever gets these tickets, I'm gonna get you really close to the Al Moon Lab. I'll get you within 4 miles of the Al Moon Lab. And so you can have an experience if you want to. We don't publish where it is, but there is a one of the main Warehouser roads. There's like two or three roads actually that back into the mountainside. So I'll get you into the area back there because I want everyone to have an experience down in that place. So if you get the tickets, that'll be just a little gimme. Let me make sure I write it down here so I
Yeah.
don't forget. Give out the directions close to Almuna. Okay.
Okay, are we forgetting anything? Was there anything else we needed to cover?
Mm. Unless Brett has something. Oh, D-Day anniversary today.
Yeah.
Thank you to all our vets.
Yeah.
And Father's Day is coming up. you can't buy us flowers, right? But you can. We always need a new universal remote for our flat screen, or a screwdriver, or a gas card, or like a Starbucks card.
Tob,
We
this is
don't
the
care.
perfect opportunity to shop your wares and share with the good people the
Or yeah,
carvings you do. That's what fathers want. They want their
w-
children to bestow upon them and present a Sasquatch cedar wood carving.
or a Blu-ray copy of A Flash of Beauty, or some merch. I mean, a Flash of Beauty trucker hat would be pretty darn cool. And where can they get something like that?
If you go to our website, so on our YouTube channel, we do have a store,
Hmm.
and there's a bigger variety. But I'll tell you what, if you go to our website, bigfootdoc.com, and click on shirts and t-shirts, it will take you to the printers in Vancouver, Washington, who make all of our shirts, sweatshirts, and hats
Mm,
for events. I don't know what they're doing back there in the workshop, but they
right.
are the comfiest sweatshirts and t-shirts you will ever own. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know what little elves are coming out and stitching magic feel good stuff into the hems, but
Hmm.
it's worth it.
I want to
Definitely
thank
worth
Nancy
it.
Fry too, because Nancy Fry gave me this giant flat screen TV, and it's just so much fun to wake up at 5 in the morning, have a cup of coffee, and have this huge flat screen TV on the desk here. So,
Oh, and Tobe, you're
oh,
breaking
there you are.
up. There
There you
you
go.
go. Okay. Maybe that's our cue. We've overstayed our welcome.
Yeah,
The
probably.
YouTube powers that be are trying to kick us off.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, always good to see you. And we'll be talking off the air here in about 5 minutes. So that's
Yeah.
it on my end.
Okay, cool. I will Brett and I will give you a call after we wrap up and we will
Okay.
debrief and speak of things to come.
All right. Night.
Okay. Bye, Tobe. Thanks everybody
Bye.
for tuning in. Always fun to be here with you. We'll see you next week. Bye.